let's go to the other side of the aisle, where I believe they've got pots of coffee on over there as well. It's the RNC chairwoman, Ronna McDaniel. Madam Chairwoman, thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks. Not coffee here. A lot of Diet Coke.
A lot of Diet Coke. Fair enough. Going with the cold caffeine and cold carbonated caffeine.
Exactly.
I want to get your initial response there. There's a net negative for the Republican Party's image in the national exit poll, net positive for the Democratic Party's image. What does that tell you?
Well, I'm going to do something amazing, Todd. I'm going to agree with Tom Perez. I think it's hard to look at exit polls when voters are still voting. And I also have a hard time looking at them when you have as many voters that have come out and voted absentee and early that may not be incorporated into those exit polls. So let's let those voters get out and vote. If you haven't voted, get out and vote. And then we'll look at the results as they come in.
I'm curious. I want to get your reaction to something the president said in an interview earlier today about what he could do perhaps differently going forward. Take a listen. I want to get your reaction.
I would like to have a much softer tone. I feel to a certain extent I have no choice, but maybe I do, and maybe I could have been softer from that standpoint, but I want to get things done.
Do you think the tone, are you concerned that the tone was a little harsh at the end and it may have turned off some suburban Republican voters?
You know, I'm not. You know, the RNC has been so focused on our ground game and communicating with voters through our data and taking the right message to individual voters. We customize our plan for each voter, and we take the message that we think is going to be best. Counting on. We don't rely on the media or the broad messaging. Ours is an individual plan to turn out each and every vote. We've been chasing absentee ballots, and today we'll be door knocking. And one neighbor will get an economic message, and the next will get a judge message, and the next will get a different message. And that's how we've changed the way the RNC does business, by having that one-on-one contact.
Well, reportedly, the president nixed the idea of a closing message on the economy and instead wanted to have a closing message on immigration. Why doesn't the economy motivate your voters enough?
You know, the economy does motivate the voters, but it is a contrast. And I'll be honest with you, Chuck, when we saw in our polling as we were in these states, when we talked about the tax cuts and all the good things that are happening, you know, Tom Perez just talked about the accomplishment wing of the Democrat Party. I don't know what wing that is. All I know is the Republican Party is the party of accomplishments, with 4 million jobs coming to this country, wages up, all the good things that are happening. But when you take just that to the voters, it doesn't move the needle as much. You have to contrast it with what would happen if the Democrats take control of the House. Nancy Pelosi said she wants to raise taxes. You'll have more obstruction and resistance, more investigations. So that slowing down of the economy has been what we've seen move the numbers. So I don't know why good news doesn't just bring voters out. You would think that it would, but they need to see what's at stake, and that's been the message we've been taking to them.
By the way, before I let your home state is Michigan. You were the chair of the Michigan Republican Party. I got to ask, it does seem as it's not going to be a good night for the Republicans in the state of Michigan. And there's been a lot of lack of investment. Is the Flint water crisis, did it just make it politically nearly impossible for Republicans in the state of Michigan this cycle?
Well, the RNC has invested in Michigan, and we do have 5 battleground congressional races there. And we have a great candidate in John James. There's a couple things, Todd, and I'm going to say this about governor's races across the country. A lot of the governor's races that are competitive have to do with what's happened in those states. So if you have outgoing governors with negative numbers, you're seeing those it
just trickles down.
Races
you think that trickles
struggle,
down and hurts.
or those. It trickles down. You see it in Oklahoma right now, Kansas. So I do think that factors into the governor's races. They're not as prone to what's happening nationally. It's more state-driven. I absolutely think that. And then with the Senate race in Michigan, the map's just been so big with Florida, Missouri, Indiana, all these states, Arizona, Nevada. It's just hard to invest everywhere. And there is one wave that is in existence, and that is the green wave. The Democrats have far outspent our candidates across the country with their small dollar fundraising. If you look at the committee spending, we've been equal. Right. But the fundraising that the Democrats have had at the small dollar level has been enormous. And that is part of what's helping them be competitive tonight in a lot of these seats. But we're competitive, too. And that's what's amazing. We're hitting our early vote targets. We've expected 2016 levels. We built our program around that. It's going to be a late night, I think. But I feel very good about where we are in an election where we're typically the party that loses 2 to 3 Senate seats or 30 House seats when you have that first-term president.
All right. Madam Chairwoman, RNC Chair Ronna McDaniel, you staying for the full 4 years? I saw the president wants you to stay. You going to stick around?
Well, I'm going to let the president make that announcement.
Okay.
We've had conversations. I love working as head of the RNC. It's been the greatest opportunity, and I'm going to sleep for a day, talk to my family, and let the president make that decision.
All right. Go get those Diet Cokes all chilled up. Hello, YouTubers. If you're watching this, it means you've checked out our channel, so thank you. Now do me a favor. Subscribe by clicking on that button down there. Click on any of the videos to watch the latest interviews and highlights from MTP Daily and MSNBC. You can get more Beat the Press content every morning in the First Read newsletter. If you're tired of content that you don't know anything about where it came from, you don't have to have that problem with us. NBC News, MSNBC, MTP, and the Meet the Press mindset right here for you on YouTube. Subscribe now.